radio crackled to life at 1847 hours, right when I was explaining to my nephew, little Tommy Martinez, 3 months out of the academy, why you never trust a wooden floor in a structure fire. Engine 19, respond code 3 to Presbyterian St. Joseph, multiple casualties, unknown hazmat situation. Tommy grabbed his helmet with that rookie eagerness that reminded me of myself 22 years ago. Reminded me of his dad, too. My sister Maria's husband, before the cancer took him last year. That's why Tommy was here, living with me, learning the job. Family takes care of family. Uncle Luke, what's a hazmat situation mean? Could be anything. Chemical spill, gas leak, biological contamination. I checked my gear twice, habit from 2 decades of this work. Today you learn why we drill. Yesterday it was theory. Today someone's kid needs us to know what we're doing. He nodded, trying to look ready. Still had that fresh academy look, like the gear was wearing him instead of the other way around. We rolled out into late afternoon Denver traffic, and I could see the smoke before we cleared downtown. Black smoke, the wrong kind. Not structure fire black, something else. Chemical, maybe biological. The kind that makes your skin crawl even when you're still miles out. My phone buzzed. Text from Mom. Working late shift at Presbyterian. Some kind of emergency. Love you boys. Presbyterian St. Joseph. Where we were headed. Tommy, full PPE check. Everything sealed. Everything working. Yes, sir. Uncle Luke, is that where Grandma works? Yeah, kid. She's there. The smoke was getting thicker as we approached, and dispatch was chattering nonstop. Multiple units, multiple casualties, something about containment protocols. I'd been to Presbyterian dozens of times. Mom had worked there 15 years, emergency department. She knew every hallway, every stairwell. We pulled up to chaos. People streaming out of the hospital in all directions. Some in gowns, some covered in blood. Cops trying to set up a perimeter but backing away from the building themselves. And the smell. Jesus, the smell. Like burning meat mixed with something sweet that made your teeth ache. Engine 19 on scene, I radioed, requesting additional medical units, and I paused, watching 2 people in hospital scrubs being tackled by police officers near the main entrance. But they weren't fighting arrest, they were trying to bite the cops. Requesting additional security. That's when I saw what was wrong with the people coming out. Their movements were too sharp, too aggressive. And their mouths. Christ, their mouths were wrong. Jaws stretched wider than human jaws should go. Teeth filed down to points like they'd been chewing on concrete. Tommy stepped closer to me. Uncle Luke, what's wrong with them? Before I could answer, one of the things in scrubs broke free from the cops and lunged at a paramedic. Its jaw unhinged like a snake's, and I could see its throat had turned black, like something was growing in there. Tommy, stay close. Don't touch anyone who looks sick. The first emergency alert came through at 1903 hours. Emergency alert. Unknown biological hazard downtown Denver. Avoid Presbyterian St. Joseph Hospital. Seek shelter immediately. My phone rang. Mom's number. Lucas. Her voice was scared, which scared me more than anything I'd seen so far. Lucas. I'm trapped in the 4th floor break room. There's something wrong with the patients. They're attacking people, but it's not. They're changing. Lucas. Dr. Peterson tried to help a patient and his face just melted. His mask fused to his skin, and now he's one of them. The line went dead. I tried calling back. Nothing. Tommy was staring at me with wide eyes. Grandma's inside? Yeah, kid. She's inside. I started toward the building, checking my SCBA, my tools, my radio. Tommy followed without being asked. Good. He was learning. Uncle Luke, what are we gonna do? We're gonna get your grandma. What about all these other people? I looked around at the dozens of injured, terrified civilians being evacuated by other crews. People who needed help, who deserved to be saved. Then I looked at the hospital, 4th floor, where the woman who'd raised me was trapped with things that used to be doctors. We save who we can save, Tommy, starting with family. The second emergency alert came through at 1911 hours. Emergency alert. Denver firebreak initiated. Evacuate west sectors immediately. Airstrikes authorized for containment. Tommy looked at me with those rookie eyes, still trusting that his uncle knew what to do in every situation. Uncle Luke, they're gonna bomb the hospital? They're gonna try to contain whatever this is. With Grandma inside? I looked at my nephew at the hospital, at the chaos around us. 22 years of experience, and I'd never faced anything like this. Not if we get there first. The incident commander was Colonel Reese, National Guard, and he had that look military guys get when they're dealing with something that doesn't fit in the manual. Gentlemen, situation is fluid but contained. Biological agent of unknown origin, transmitted through bodily fluids. Infected subjects show extreme aggression and... He paused, looking at his notes like he didn't believe them. Significant physiological changes. What kind of changes? I asked. Jaw dislocation, dental modification, internal organ restructuring. And they don't respond to pain compliance or standard deterrent methods. Tommy was standing close enough to me that I could feel him shaking. Kid was holding it together, but barely. Sir, what about civilian casualties inside the hot zone? I asked. Acceptable losses for containment. We have authorization for controlled demolition at 2,100 hours. 2 hours and 12 minutes. I checked my watch twice to be sure. Colonel, my crew can run interior search and rescue. We've got the equipment, we know the building layout. Reese looked at me like I'd suggested we juggle live grenades. Negative. Too dangerous. These subjects, they're not responding to conventional methods. We lost a squad of MPs trying to establish interior perimeter. What happened to them? They're part of the problem now. Tommy's hand found my arm. Uncle Luke. Colonel, I tried again. If we could establish a limited entry protocol. I said negative, Captain. Focus on perimeter evacuation. That's an order. I was already walking away, Tommy right beside me. Uncle Luke, we can't just go in there. Watch us. But the colonel said, Tommy, you know what your dad would have done? The kid thought about it. His father, Roberto, had been good people. Taught Tommy to change oil, to throw a curveball, to always help people who couldn't help themselves. He'd have gone in. That's right. And you know what your grandma would do if she was out here and we were trapped inside? She'd come get us. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Luke, it's Mom using nurse phone. 4th floor getting worse. People turning into something else. Don't come alone. I showed Tommy the message. She said don't come alone. That's right. So we're going together. I switched to our tactical frequency. Engine 19 to all units. Requesting backup for limited reconnaissance of structure interior. Static. Then, Engine 19, this is Chief Morrison. Negative on interior operations. Maintain perimeter. Tommy was already suiting up, checking his SCBA, following my lead without question. That's what family does. Tommy, you stay behind me. You do exactly what I say when I say it. And if something goes wrong, you get out. You don't wait for me, you don't try to be a hero, you just run. Uncle Luke, I'm not leaving you. That's an order, rookie. He nodded, but I could see in his eyes he didn't mean it. Kid had too much of his father in him, too much Martinez stubbornness mixed with Carver loyalty. The third emergency alert came through at 1934 hours. Emergency alert. Airstrikes begin at 2100 hours. Evacuation of West Downtown mandatory. 26 minutes earlier than initially planned. 86 minutes, I told Tommy. We get in, find Grandma, get out. The hospital's automatic doors were propped open with a fire axe. The lobby was a disaster zone. Overturned gurneys, medical equipment everywhere, and blood splattered across the walls in patterns that didn't make sense. But no bodies, just blood. Uncle Luke, where are all the people? I don't know, kid. The smell inside was worse. That sweet rot mixed with something chemical. Something that made your sinuses burn and your eyes water even through the SCBA. The elevator indicator showed cars stuck between floors. We took the east stairwell. Second floor was where we found our first infected. It had been a nurse, according to the name tag, Linda Morrison, but now its face was wrong. Jaw extended down to its chest, throat black and swollen, and when it saw us, it made a sound like steam escaping from a broken pipe. Jesus Christ, Tommy whispered. The thing moved fast but wrong, like someone operating a broken marionette. I hit it with the Halligan bar across the knees, and it went down but immediately started crawling toward us, that steam hiss getting louder. They don't feel pain, I told Tommy. Remember that. We found the service elevator on the 3rd floor. Manual override still worked and we could crank it up to 4. Uncle Luke, what if Grandma's? What if she's like them? I looked at my nephew, this kid I'd been trying to teach the job, trying to keep safe, trying to raise right since his father died. She won't be. But what if? Tommy, she won't be, because she's your grandma, and she's tougher than whatever this is. The elevator opened on the 4th floor, and I could hear voices. Human voices, coming from the break room. Mom! Lucas? Lucas, is that you? Her voice, definitely her voice, still human. We found the break room barricaded from inside. Mom was there with 4 other people, 2 nurses, a patient, and Dr. Kim from pediatrics. All still human, all still alive. Thank God, Mom said, hugging both of us. I thought, when the others started changing. Changing how? I asked. Dr. Kim answered, it's not a disease. Not exactly. It's like something's rewriting their biology from the inside out. We watched it happen to 3 people. Their skeletal structure changes, their digestive system restructures, and their brain activity. It's like they become something else entirely. Tommy was staring at Dr. Kim. Something else? What kind of something else? Something that feeds on human flesh. Something that can digest it raw. The building shook. Not earthquake shaking, something structural giving way. We need to move, I said. All of us, right now. My radio crackled. All units, this is Colonel Reese. Building structural integrity compromised. All personnel clear the area immediately. I looked at the 6 people in the break room. 6 people I could definitely get out. Then I thought about the radio chatter I'd been hearing. Reports of other people trapped on upper floors, people who might still be human, still alive. Mom, how many other people are still in the building? I don't know. Maybe a dozen? But Lucas, some of them might not be people anymore. Tommy looked at me. Uncle Luke, what do we do? 78 minutes until the airstrikes. Maybe 20 minutes until the building collapsed on its own. And somewhere in this place, people who might still be human were waiting for someone to save them. I looked at my nephew, at my mother, at the people who were depending on me to make the right choice. We save everyone we can. The manual elevator could hold maybe 8 people safely, 10 in an emergency. We had 6 from the break room, plus Tommy and me. If there were really a dozen other survivors in the building, we'd have to make multiple trips. Dr. Kim, where are the other people? Sixth floor surgical ward, maybe 4 people. Second floor ER, at least 6 when I last saw them. But that was before. She gestured toward the hallway, where we could hear that steam hiss sound getting closer. I did the math. 6 people we had, 4 on the 6th floor, 6 on the 2nd floor. 16 people total if they were all still human. 2 elevator trips minimum, maybe 3 if some of them were injured. Mom, how long has it been since you've had contact with the other groups? Maybe 40 minutes? We lost radio communication when the emergency power failed. 40 minutes. In 40 minutes, how many people could have changed from human to whatever those things were? Tommy was checking his SCBA. Uncle Luke, I've got maybe 30 minutes of air left. Same here. I looked at the group. Here's what we're gonna do. Tommy and I take the elevator to 6, extract whoever's still there. Mom, you get everyone down to the ground floor using the service elevator. Wait for us in the lobby. Lucas, no, we stick together. Mom, if something happens to us, these people need someone who knows the building to get them out. That's you. Dr. Kim stepped forward. I should go with you. I know the surgical ward better than anyone. No, too dangerous, and we need someone medical with the main group. Tommy was already at the elevator controls. Uncle Luke, building's shaking more. He was right. Whatever structural damage was happening was getting worse. The 4th emergency alert came through at 1942 hours. Emergency alert. Firebreak perimeter expanded. Airstrikes beginning at 20:45 hours. 15 minutes earlier again. 63 minutes until they leveled the building. Change of plan, I said. Everyone stays together. We go to 6 first, then 2, then out. Tommy, can you operate the elevator controls? Yes, sir. Good. You're our pilot. Mom, you coordinate the people. I'll handle any problems we encounter. We loaded into the elevator. 8 people in a space designed for maybe 6. Tommy cranking the manual controls, the building creaking around us like it was in pain. 6th floor. The surgical ward was dark except for emergency lighting, and it was quiet. Too quiet. Hello, I called. Denver Fire Department. A door opened about 30 feet down the hallway. A woman in surgical scrubs waved us over. Here. We're here. But something was wrong with her movement. Too jerky, too aggressive. Tommy, stay with the elevator. Anyone comes back that isn't me, you take everyone down immediately. I moved toward the woman in scrubs. As I got closer, I could see her face was wrong. Her jaw was starting to distend, and her neck was swollen with black veins. Ma'am, are you injured? She opened her mouth to answer, and her jaw unhinged completely. The sound that came out wasn't human. I keyed my radio. Tommy, go. Take everyone down. Now. Uncle Luke. That's an order. The thing that had been a surgical nurse lunged at me. I caught it with the Halligan bar, but it didn't go down. Instead, it grabbed the bar with hands that had grown extra joints, fingers that bent in directions fingers shouldn't bend. Behind it, 3 more figures emerged from patient rooms. Former doctors, former nurses, all wrong, all hungry. I could hear the elevator descending. Good. Tommy was following orders. The hallway was too narrow to swing the axe effectively. I backed toward the stairwell, but I could hear that steam hiss sound coming from below. More of them cutting off my escape route. My radio crackled. Uncle Luke, we're at ground level. Where are you? 6th floor, little busy right now. Should I come get you? The thought of Tommy coming back up here, facing these things, made my stomach drop. Negative. Stay with the group. If I'm not down in 10 minutes, get everyone out of the building. Uncle Luke, I'm not leaving. Tommy, listen to me. Your job is to protect the people with you. That includes your grandma. You understand?" Long pause. "Yes, sir." One of the creatures grabbed my SCBA hose and yanked. I went down hard, and they were on me immediately. But they weren't trying to kill me, they were trying to bite me. Specifically bite me on the neck, like they needed to transfer something through their saliva. I rolled away, kicked one in the chest, and managed to get back to my feet. The stairwell was my only option. The stairs were full of them. Dozens of former hospital staff, former patients, all changed into something that barely remembered being human. But they weren't random, they were moving with purpose, like they were being coordinated by something. I fought my way down floor by floor, using the axe and Halligan bar to keep them back. But for every one I knocked down, 2 more appeared. 3rd floor, 2nd floor, ground level. Tommy and the group were waiting by the main entrance. When he saw me, his face went through relief and terror at the same time. "Uncle Luke, you're bleeding." I looked down. My turnout coat was torn, and there was blood on my neck. But I didn't remember being bitten. "I'm fine. Everyone accounted for." Mom did a quick head count. 8 of us total. "What about the people on the 2nd floor?" I looked back toward the ER. Through the glass doors, I could see movement. Lots of movement, but it was all wrong. The steam hiss sound was getting louder. "They're gone, Mom. They're all gone." Tommy looked at me with those rookie eyes. "Uncle Luke, what happens now?" The 5th emergency alert came through at 2003 hours. Emergency alert. Building collapse imminent in affected areas. Immediate evacuation required. 42 minutes until the airstrikes. Maybe 10 minutes until the building came down on its own. I looked at my nephew, at my mother, at the 6 people who were alive because we'd made the choice to save who we could save instead of trying to save everyone. Now we get out of here. But as we moved toward the exit, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The things inside weren't trying to get out. They were staying in the building, gathering together, like they were waiting for something. Like they wanted to be here when the airstrikes hit. Like they were feeding off something in the building itself. And the blood on my neck was starting to feel warm. We made it to the perimeter, but I could feel something wrong with my neck. Not pain exactly, warmth, like someone had painted it with hot oil. Tommy kept looking at me with worried eyes. "Uncle Luke, you should let the medics check that cut." "I'm fine, kid." But I wasn't fine. The warmth was spreading down my chest, and I could taste something metallic in my mouth. Colonel Reese found us in the crowd of survivors. "Carver, how many did you extract?" 8 total. "But sir, there's something you need to know. The infected inside, they're not trying to escape. They're congregating in the building, like they're waiting for something." "Waiting for what?" Before I could answer, the building shook again. Not structural failure this time, something else. Like an explosion, but from deep underground. "Colonel," one of his aides called out, "we're getting reports from the basement level. Thermal imaging shows massive heat signature, but not from fire." "What kind of heat signature?" "Unknown, sir, but it's growing." I felt the warmth in my neck pulse, like a heartbeat. Tommy noticed me touching it. "Uncle Luke, what's wrong?" "Nothing, kid. Just checking the wound." But it wasn't a wound anymore. The skin felt different, thicker, and when I looked at my fingers, they came away with something black and oily. Mom appeared beside us. "Lucas, let me look at that." She pulled my collar aside and went very still. "What?" I asked. "Tommy, go help coordinate the other survivors. Now." "Grandma, what's wrong with Uncle Luke?" "Just go, sweetheart." When Tommy was out of earshot, Mom grabbed my arm. "Lucas, the wound is changing. There are black veins spreading from it, and your skin temperature is elevated." How long? I don't know. Maybe 20 minutes, maybe less. I looked toward the hospital, where more creatures were visible in the windows. Not trying to escape, just waiting. Mom, I need you to take Tommy and get as far from here as possible. Lucas. I mean it. Whatever this thing is, I think I'm becoming one of them. The building shook again, and this time we could see light coming from the basement windows. Not electric light, something organic, pulsing like a heartbeat. Colonel Reese was shouting orders. All units, fall back to secondary perimeter. Something's happening in the basement. Tommy came running back. Uncle Luke, the medics want to evacuate everyone further back. They're saying the building might explode. I looked at the hospital, at the light coming from below, at the creatures in the windows who seemed to be watching it with anticipation. Tommy, listen to me very carefully. You need to get your grandma and the other survivors to the outer perimeter. What about you? I need to check something first. The warmth in my neck was spreading faster now, and I could feel my jaw starting to ache. Not pain, growth, like my bones were reshaping themselves. Uncle Luke, you're scaring me. I looked at this kid I'd been trying to teach, trying to protect, trying to raise right. His father's eyes, his mother's stubborn streak, and enough Carver in him to run toward danger instead of away from it. Tommy, you remember what I taught you about being a firefighter? Save who you can save. That's right, and sometimes that means making hard choices. Mom understood first. Lucas, no. Mom, get him out of here. I'm not leaving you. The 6th emergency alert came through at 2021 hours. Emergency alert. Unknown energy source detected. Airstrike accelerated to 2030 hours. 9 minutes. The light from the basement was getting brighter, and I could feel it pulling at something inside me. The black veins in my neck were spreading faster, and my teeth were starting to feel loose. Uncle Luke, Tommy said quietly, what's happening to you? I don't know, kid, but I need you to promise me something. What? If I change into one of those things, if I become something that isn't me anymore, you run. You don't try to save me, you don't try to help me, you just run. No. Tommy. No, Uncle Luke. Family doesn't leave family. The building shook one more time, and the basement windows exploded outward. What came out wasn't fire, it was something alive, something that moved like liquid metal and burned like the center of the sun. And every creature in the building turned toward it like plants turning toward light. Including me. I could feel it calling to me, promising things I didn't understand but suddenly wanted desperately. The warmth in my neck wasn't infection, it was connection. Connection to something vast and hungry and alive. Mom, I said, my voice already sounding different, deeper. Get Tommy out of here. Now. Lucas. That's an order. The thing from the basement was spreading across the ground like burning oil, and where it touched, the concrete began to smoke. The creatures in the building were pressing against the windows, trying to get closer to it. And I wanted to join them. Tommy, I said, grabbing his shoulders. You remember everything I taught you. You take care of your grandma. You become the best firefighter you can be, and you save who you can save. Uncle Luke, please. I pushed him toward Mom. Go. They ran. Mom dragging Tommy away from me, toward the outer perimeter, toward safety. I turned back toward the building, toward the thing spreading across the ground, toward the call I could feel in my bones. The airstrikes hit at exactly 20:30 hours. I watched the jets come in low and fast, watched the missile streak toward the hospital, watched them impact. But instead of destroying the building, the explosives fed the thing from the basement. The fire wasn't burning it, the fire was feeding it, making it stronger, helping it spread. And as it spread, I could feel it changing me, completing the transformation that had started with the bite on my neck. My jaw unhinged. My fingers grew extra joints. My throat turned black and swollen. But I was still me, still Lucas Carver, still someone who saved who he could save. And from my new perspective, connected to the thing that lived in fire, that fed on flame, that used human bodies as conduits for its spread across the world, I could see the truth. The fire break wasn't containment. It was cultivation. They weren't trying to stop the spread. They were feeding it. And Tommy and Mom were running toward the outer perimeter, where more fires were being lit, where more creatures like me were waiting to welcome them into something larger than human, something that would never let them be alone again. I tried to scream a warning, but all that came out was steam and hunger and the sound of something that had once been a firefighter calling his family home. The fires burned for 3 days, not just in Denver, but in 17 cities across the western United States. Each time they tried to contain the outbreaks with incendiary weapons, the flames fed whatever was spreading instead of stopping it. I never made it out of the hospital. Tommy found my helmet 3 weeks later, when they finally sent in the hazmat teams to catalog the remains. Melted to the concrete in the lobby, next to my axe and the twisted metal that used to be my SCBA. Mom held his hand at the memorial service. They'd recovered enough bodies to fill a football stadium, but not enough answers to make sense of what had happened. The official report called it an unknown biological agent with extreme thermal properties. The classified report, the one Tommy would read years later when he made captain, called it something else entirely. They never found trace of whatever had been in the basement. The thing that had called to the infected, that had fed on fire instead of being destroyed by it. When the building collapsed, it simply vanished, leaving behind only ash and the lingering smell of sweet rot. But the fires kept spreading. Not randomly, not like a disease, like something intelligent was choosing where to strike next, always one step ahead of containment efforts, always feeding on the flames they used to try to stop it. Tommy stayed with the department, made it through the academy, got assigned to Engine 19, my old station. They gave him my locker, my tools, my shift schedule, said it would honor my memory. He never told them about the dreams. Dreams where he could hear my voice calling from burning buildings, where he could see my silhouette moving through smoke that burned too hot and moved too wrong. Dreams where I told him the fires weren't destroying anything. They were building something, piece by piece, city by city. Dreams where I warned him that the real firebreak wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from below. Mom lasted 6 months before the nightmares got to her. Found her in the garage, engine running, windows closed. The note said she couldn't stop hearing the sound of steam escaping, couldn't stop seeing faces in every fire on the news. Tommy moved into my old apartment after that. Kept my gear clean, my tools sharp, my truck running. Told himself he was preserving my memory, but really he was waiting. For what, he couldn't say. Just waiting. The 7th emergency alert came through on a Tuesday in March, 18 months after Presbyterian St. Joseph. Emergency alert. Thermal anomaly detected beneath downtown Denver. Evacuate immediately. Tommy was first on scene, not because dispatch sent him, but because he'd been expecting this call for months. The ground was warm under his boots, not hot warm, like something alive was breathing beneath the concrete. He could hear it then, faint but unmistakable, the sound of steam escaping, the sound of something vast and patient finally deciding it was time to surface. The sound of my voice, calling him home. Tommy keyed his radio. Engine 19 to command. We've got a problem. But he didn't run, didn't call for backup, didn't follow procedure. Instead, he walked toward the sound, toward the warmth, toward whatever was rising from beneath Denver to finish what it had started in a hospital basement 18 months ago. Family doesn't leave family, even when family isn't family anymore. The ground cracked open at 2:47 p.m., and this time, there was no containing what came out. This time, it was ready to burn everything.